all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Well, shopping for a car?
Yep, Carvana made financing a car as smooth as can be.
Oh, yeah?
I got pre-qualified instantly and had real terms personalized just for me.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
Well, I got to browse thousands of car options on Carvana, all within my budget.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
It does. I actually wanted a car that seemed out of my range, but I was able to add a cosigner and found my dream car.
It doesn't get much...
Oh, it gets smoother. It's getting delivered tomorrow.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get pre-qualified today.
Hello, and welcome to the No Fruit Podcast.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Maurice.
And this is Kafi.
We thank you for tuning in today. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Hey, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is Reese and Kaf. Today we're going to talk about something very interesting. Just so happened we have been blessed to be parents for the last 19 years of two beautiful children. And how can I say it? It has not been the easiest 19 years being a parent, more especially a father. Their growth and development, I realized at an early age for them that it really depended on how Kafa and I nourished and attended to and being present in their lives. And, in this series of Getting in the Way, we're just going to see which way it goes because sometimes being a parent or having that title, a lot of things get hindered either by being a parent or being a parent. So that's the best way I could put it for right now. And you'll understand what I mean as we go a little further. Kav, what's your thoughts? What you got to say? Nothing right now? Okay, that's fine. So what I mean by being a parent or being a parent. So some of us are parents just by title, and some of us really have taken that parenting seriously. And I, for one, have taken that title of parent seriously. I decided a long time ago that I did not want to be an absentee father. I did not want to be one that was not involved in my kids' lives. So there were a lot of things that I ended up deciding or missing out on by being a parent. And what I mean by that is any opportunities for myself for personal, growth and development. Sometimes, which I didn't realize also, being a parent can get in the way of sometimes of your spiritual growth and your involvement in church sometimes. Some people think of it, hey, just because you coach football and basketball and you shouldn't miss church. But in the times that we've raised these children, in our time when we were younger, we were able to go outside and play and things like that. For some of these kids, especially with me being a coach, that's the only interaction they had with anyone else was just being on those teams and stuff. So being a parent did get in the way of a few things, like I said, for myself, of spiritual growth and development. It got in the way of me taking more of an active role in church. Because sometimes church, you get so involved. And I've seen this also where you get so involved in church. Just like in business, if you're an entrepreneur, you get so involved in business that you lose track of what's actually important to you, meaning your family, your wife and your children. Those that are at home, those are the ones that you see every day. Those that you say that you love and care for. And a lot of times you say, hey, I'm doing this for them. But you also lose yourself in the midst. So Kaf,
Yeah.
I know you just kind of like sitting back chilling. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going on a little rant and
You're preaching. Go on and preach the word. Preach the word.
So that's just my story today. Like I said, for me, I decided to put my children as my primary. We still pray. No, we don't go to church every Sunday, and we've been in reality hot and cold with that. But it's not that they don't know who Christ is. It's not like they have not had their own personal experiences with the move of the Holy Spirit. So when you have that phrase of train up as a child, we have done that. Maybe not to the liking of some people, and how deep people get into that particular scripture, but we've done to the best of our abilities, and I think that we've made two persons that can adapt to what's going on in the world today, where they want to be loving and caring and worried about their fellow man and making sure people have resources and things like that. Of course, like any other teenagers, they can be selfish sometimes, like most people can be every now and then. But I really do believe that being around, and more importantly, with them having their father around, their physical father around, and for me to take the time to speak to them and show them how to change the oil or how to shop and, to make sure that, hey, when you give a gift that is very loving, from a loving and caring place, that you're very thoughtful of who you're talking to, who you're dealing with, and how to respect others and how to command respect. So that's, again, Kyle, anything? I know, I'm sorry. I keep going off and off and off.
Yes, you are going off and off and off. So as Maurice said, we are parents, blessed parents. And yes, our children are two totally different folks. God created them that way, and we love them for who they are. What we decided to instill in our children may be different than some other households, but we do stand by the fact of, as for me and my house, will serve the Lord. And our kids are understanding of that, and they're respectful of that. I think Maurice's parenting style, he has a lot of discussions with them and talks to them a lot. I'm more quiet and just kind of more reserved and listen to them. We kind of talk more one-on-one at different times. But I am the hands-on praying person as well. So when I see something going a little bit awry, I will pull them in and pray for them and with them until the Holy Ghost comes. I don't mind tarrying before the Lord and just being there. But as Maurice said, our children have taken on a little bit of us and the patience and the calmness and that demeanor. Our kids are not hype and excited. They can be when they're with their friends, but overall, they're just good quality people. They cannot, at this time, because we didn't train them that way and we didn't teach them that way. We didn't ourselves, I guess, come up that way in reference to quoting a Bible verse or a scripture. They may even struggle a little bit with what's their favorite gospel song or anything like that. But they have other things that are with them. So they do pray and care for other people outside of themselves and outside of their household. So I think overall they're just good quality people. And I think that comes from good parenting. And I must say that Maurice and I both have gotten accolades from our children's school, their teachers, counselors, and just said, wow, you know, you're great parents. When we had back to school night this week at the schools that the kids go to, and the teachers are always positive and say, hey, you're doing a great job with these children. They are positive. They're good students. And they pay compliment to the parent for that. I do recall that when the kids were in elementary school,
Right.
and behavior was an issue for some or one of them,
Right.
and something else was going on with the other one, and I had to sit them down and let them know they are a reflection of their parents. When they
Right.
walk out of the door, that they are a reflection of us. So if they speak ill, if they are not well kept, that's a reflection of us. That, you know, if your clothes aren't ironed, I taught you how to iron. You know, for several years I ironed your clothes, and then we got to a point where, hey, you should learn how to do this on your own. And I respect and expect for you to do that and keep that up.
Right.
So when they started to lack off on that, we had to have another sit down conversation.
Right.
I had to remind them that, you know, as my mom would tell me, you know, there's kids out there that don't have,
Yeah.
you know, so I had to pull that same parenting skill from my parent and say, hey, you know, there's kids out there that don't have.
And you don't understand. I'm sorry, real quick. You know, sometimes when you're that age, you don't understand what that means until you get older. And I think in one of our conversations, as Kafa said, you know, I have my moments. You know,
He preaches to us, y'all.
I've had, but I've also in that I've had them come back and say, you know, Dad, you're right. Dad, you know, in those situations, I noticed that, you know, my friends don't have the same thing that I have. My friends are not as prepared or organized, or they're not thinking things through. You know, it's some things that they, you know, I try to tell my kids that, hey, you know, everyone is not as blessed as you are. And we try to explain that to them so that way they don't look down on anyone also. You know, and
I have to say, our kids, I don't think are, in their personality, will look down on anybody else, but they will, I think they're at the point where they think everybody has, you know, two parents and two this, and everybody has a TV, and everybody has, you know, because they have not experienced anything else, because they are a little bit sheltered. So they haven't experienced a lot of diversity. They've only experienced what we provided in our household. And, you know, maybe that's just the way that, you know, that God had it, that they didn't have to experience all of those things. So they came up a little bit more pure and came up a little bit more under our direction.
well, let's also make it clear that, as Kafa said, we did have some challenges, and in that, you know, I guess because, you know, our son wanted to be the school cop and put everybody in their place. So sometimes I was taking it as if he might have looked down upon people who were acting out, or, you know, when people, you know, constantly disrupted the class. So that's what I meant by looking down on people. You know, if they were constantly, you know, a problem, that doesn't mean that he was a saint himself. You know, let's be clear on that. So it took a lot of work with that too. But again, it took being parents that were involved, as Kafa stated. We were at, let's be all the way honest. I mean, my parent wasn't going to teacher conferences like that. Not
we're
reality.
very, when it comes to their education, we're very interactive. I mean, whatever they needed a parent for, whether it was a bake sale, whether it was, hey, can you get a case of water and bring it in? We were doing that,
Going a school trip, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I've been on trips where, when I saw other students not having their parent there with them, and, other parents were buying their kids stuff from the gift shop and candy and things. I mean, I treated the whole bus one time, because of, I wanted to show them that, hey, you could be nice to everybody. You don't have to pick and choose. And for me, as we're talking about, getting in the way, and as I mentioned about just sometimes parenting getting in the way of going to church, but I was hoping that I could show them the God in me, the Christ in me, by sharing and caring and treating other kids almost as if they're my own. Not quite my own, but close enough, where they can... Go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say, and your lesson certainly worked, because your daughter came home from college and, you asked her where her money was, and she had shared it with lots of people.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
You're blessing the bus. She blessed
her friends.
Others, yes. So,
More than
be careful what you teach your children.
Right.
As you said, train up a child in the way he should go. When he gets old, he will not be lost and be departed from it. So you trained her up on how to give and not expect anything back in return. And she does that every chance she gets, birthdays, Christmas. She gives everybody.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I feel like a hypocrite. I'd be trying to tell her, reel that back in a little bit.
Well, you say reel it back in, but you don't say don't do it. So,
right.
Yeah, but she's young and she will learn.
Right.
As we all have had to do. So, so Maurice, you said a little bit about parenting, and being active parents sometimes can get in the way of our activity with church. And sometimes parents then will use church as the activity. Hey, we have to go to church on Monday to do this. And then there's Wednesday service. And then there's Thursday Bible study. And then there's this going on. So church becomes the activity. But then there's some times where, life just gets in the way and people won't become parents.
Right.
Because when they see, Mr. Chisholm up there getting an award for parenting, or someone else being recognized by Home and School Association for their hours of dedication, whatever it is, and they think, oh, I can't do that. So, I want to encourage those who haven't begun to parent that they should and they can.
Right.
And parenting doesn't mean always just giving birth to a child, because as Maurice said, there's a lot of parents out there that really aren't parents. Mm-hmm. All that we're talking about is the relationship and the acts that we have done as parents. And with that, it wasn't solely to our own that we gave birth to, but to others. So again, whether you're being a coach, you're parenting, you're providing parental skills and oversight to those youth. Whether you are coming in the classroom and reading a book and volunteering at a class or in a school, you're providing some parent and adult supervision, if you will. So think about all those things. And there's a lot of, children, there's Big Brother and Big Sister programs and a whole lot of things out there that we all can give back to. And some parents, become parents again, like, hey, their kids have grown up and they don't have grandchildren, but they still love children and want to pour into them. And I think that's a great thing, to be able to go back and continue to pour into the seeds that God has planted here on earth. That's how we as a people continue to flourish. That's how we as a people continue to grow. No pun intended with the No Fruit podcast, but truly puns intended with the No Fruit podcast. But, so we have to pour out, we have to be able to water and provide nutrients and substance to our youth. And it may not always just be those 18 and under. It could very well be, someone that's my age. I might need a grandparent type person to pour into me, to continue to encourage me to move forward and let me know that things are going to be all right. So those things continue on. And then you can parent, up. Hey, there's grandparents that don't have family members. And you can give them a call and send them a card. Take them shopping because they can't get around, whatever. So I think it goes a lot of different ways, and we need to take a good look at it.
Right. I think one of the keys of this whole process is, all of it is a learning process. And because of that, we need to understand that our life, as we present ourselves as living sacrifices, our ultimate, parent being God, God our Father, He loves us so much, and that sometimes we could probably love our kids so much too that we lose track of everything else. So I think that there has to be a healthy balance across the board. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean by, hey, it's a learning process, because sometimes we lose it. Sometimes we forget. Sometimes we, like I give an example. Some parents that, where I used to coach, mind you, I coached in different places, so I'm not throwing anyone underneath the bus or anything like that. But I had some parents that were so set on, my kid need to do this the best way they can because I need them to get me out of this situation. So
I've also had parents that were so uninvolved that they thought we were their babysitters as the coaches.
Right.
So they just wanted to drop their kids off, and then they may, rehearsal or practice is over in 2 hours, and you might see the parent in 2.5 hours.
Right.
3 hours later.
So sometimes we can become, as I stated, we could become too involved and push our kids so hard that we break them. And then there are some that just don't care enough. What if you know that your child has practice for 2 hours, and you leave, what are you doing for those 2 hours? And every night, like when you have practice every night, you do the exact same thing every night. Like how you forget like every night? Mm-hmm. How you late like every night? That doesn't make sense. 5 days out, 4 days out the week, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So
in reference to...
And I'm sorry, real quick, and I just want to say this this part right here, real quick. It did not matter on culture, color, race, creed. It didn't matter. It was all the above. So I just want to make sure that's clear that we're not trying to throw anybody or anything underneath the bus. It was across the board. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
You just said, a lot of times parents push their kids so hard and they come down so hard on them, whether it's in sports and, hey, you have to be the best of the best, or you're practicing an instrument and we need you to practice, twice as many hours as everyone else is, or whether the grades, are there or not. The Bible says in Colossians 3:21, parents, don't come down too hard on your children or you'll crush their spirits.
And how many times do we see that?
Right.
I can remember some kids getting hurt. So for those of you who don't know, I coached football and basketball. I played around with coaching a little soccer. And then, Kafa was a cheerleading coach. So how many times any of our kids had an injury and they almost feel like they failed their parent by getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that unto itself was so bad. I felt so bad for the kid.
I think a lot of parents were living through their children, or they wanted to relive their childhood through them. Like, hey, I did this. I want you to do it as well. And a lot of kids are not interested in it.
Right.
And I think that was the hard thing. And I think you and I as parents, or at least I know me consciously, I made a decision for our son, like when he was playing football. And I looked at him one day and I'm like, you're really not paying attention. You're not interested in this at all. And I told him, I said, you're going to go out there and get hurt because you're not paying attention and you don't care about it anymore.
Right.
So, we had that family discussion and said, hey, like, look, you don't have to play.
Right.
You don't have to, we continue to coach. We continue to be there, but you don't think you have to get on the field.
Right. And that's one of the things that, again, as a parent, were we getting in the way for him and his future, or did we help try to save his future? So again, all of this is a learning process and a loving process. We have to make sure that we love our children and make sure that they know that they're loved, even just liked as people.
Right.
I don't want to just say, hey, this is my child, gave birth to him, I got to love him. No, have those type of discussions with your children so that way you could even just like them as people, and not, again, look down upon them, saying, I wish you, my shoulda, coulda, wouldas, I should have had you, not had you, things like that. Again, because how does that attitude portray on them? Is that a godly message? Is that a godly image in front of them day in and day out?
Right.
No one's saying that we were perfect in our financial situations and, whatever else. So, but we made sure that, hey, they were not aware of our status of what was going on. But we also made sure that as they've gotten older, hey, here's where our pitfalls have been, and we don't want you to repeat what we've been through, right? Mm-hmm. So in that, have they been like, oh, Mom, Dad, I want to do, no, I'm your parent. You don't take care of me, I take care of you. So, it's all also those type of things of just letting them know, hey, here's what the situation is. And it wasn't anything like, hey, like, I need you to take care of me, but they just wanted to be that loving child because we love on them so much that they just wanted to reciprocate. I'm like, no, it's not even that bad, dude. Like, but it's all good though. So, but so one of the things as I stated, as we start to close out, is again, just love on your, of your kids. Don't allow anything to get away of that. Like your children, don't let any of get in the way of that. Also understand what, from a parenting perspective, what gets in the way from you being the greatest ever parent, alive, the most strict parent to being the worst parent alive. What gets in the way? Are you dealing with any past traumas? Are you dealing with any, lack of whatever it might have been growing up? And so those are the type of things that I constantly review on myself, and I'll make sure that I try my best not to project it on my own, so plus, I've been blessed to have such a wonderful helpmeet, depending on who you speak to, because we do balance each other out. Mm-hmm. We do balance each other out. So, I think this was a topic that needed to be spoken about, because since we're going through so much right now that, and when it comes to parenting, like, for an example, those parents that were trying to push their kids to become all world in sports, well, you got some sports shut down, some not.
Right.
So now what do? Those parents that were dependent on all these extracurricular activities for these kids to get into colleges, what do you do now?
Or just, again, extracurricular activities, period. Like that was your free time. That was your, time away. But now dealing with the pandemic, when we're all kind of still in the house together and having to be the teacher and the parent and the friend and the disciplinarian and all those things, it's tough.
Right.
It is tough. So again, my plea goes out to those who don't have biological children. Reach your hand out to those who do, so that you can assist them and help them as well. So we love you all. We hope that you have enjoyed today's podcast. Please note that we have some merchandise available now. Maurice, tell them a little bit more about that.
Hey, you know what? You're right, Kaf. You're right. We do. We have merchandise now available on Amazon. So for those of you who do not know, I do have an apparel store called the Positive Energy T-Shirt Shop.
The Positive Energy T-Shirt Shop.
And the actual web address is positivenrgshop.com. Positive, the letter N, the letter R, the letter G, shop.com. And so you can actually find No Fruit Podcast T-shirts on Amazon.
What?
You'll actually find them also on the Positive Energy Shop. But you're going to also find them on Amazon. They're available on Amazon today.
Get it.
Today.
Get it.
So, we have all colors, things like that, fall colors. You could lace yourself up for this, buy it for yourself, buy it for Christmas gifts. It's up to you. It's that type of time of year anyway.
Right.
So,
Also, while you're out there and you're typing in and getting us some nice merchandise on Amazon or the Positive Energy T-Shirt Shop, also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit us up, send us a message, like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell two.
Get fit.
Fit, y'all. Get fit.
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank y'all very much for tuning in today.
God bless you all.
And we love y'all. Peace.
This week's episode has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
For the best TV viewing experience, witness the coziest maroons, the most vibrant and brightest moons, the eeriest and darkest tombs, and radiant and vivid hues in any type of room with the Neo QLED and OLED TVs by Samsung. We're supposed to say Samsung, but that didn't rhyme, so you're welcome. Samsung, more wow than ever.